Hi, I'm Mimi Secor, nurse practitioner, live here at the Meds meeting in beautiful Orlando, Florida, with one of our wonderful speakers, Christine Kessler, nurse practitioner extraordinaire. Welcome, Christine.
Oh, thank you.
Now, you have the best topics in diabetes, and now you're speaking on obesity, and I just hang on your every word. What's happening right now with obesity in this country?
Well, there's hope, but there hasn't been a lot of change, unfortunately. So if you've been hearing there's been changes and a decrease in the epidemic of obesity, it is not so. In fact, some statistics disturbing just came out that said that currently over 60% of the American population is overweight, over 30% obese, and in 2030 it is estimated that over 60% of the American population will be obese, and we're not alone. It's all over the world, and they're actually now calling it globesity. The biggest epidemic right now in the world is obesity.
Wow. And how much does junk food and supersizing really have to do with that? I know the spread at McDonald's, larger sizes of this and that.
Well, you know, it does make a difference because our food portions are about 30% higher, but we believe it's now more multifactorial. We can't blame one part of the spectrum of causing obesity. If you actually look, it's not just McDonald's and the fast food, which is true. You can't get out of there with a lot of calories, consuming a lot of calories. It's actually the kind of foods that we're eating. The food that we ate in the 50s and 60s, not only being 1/3 the amount that we eat now when we go out, it's actually different. We've had a lot of genetic engineering with our grain sources, the corns and the wheats and the grains, and that's really a problem. And also our grain-fed cattle and what we're giving them. Another thing too, what we buy, not just in the fast food restaurants, but we buy on the shelves in the stores make a difference because we've added things to our food. So it's not just change, we've added things. Food, color enhancers, shelf life extenders, and taste enhancers, which we now believe may have genetically changed the way we then respond to food. So there's a lot of genetics involved and a whole new field of nutrigenomics. That's going to give us the answers.
I could listen to you forever. I just learned so much from you, Chris. We do have anti-obesity medications that have just been approved. Could you talk a few minutes about those?
Yeah, this is really interesting. There has not been any new medication for the obesity epidemic or problems with weight control for 13 years. And the last one was Orlistat that came out, which is a fat blocker, but we got 2 just in the last 4 weeks.
Wow.
And both these drugs, by the way, were disapproved by the FDA in 2010 because there's concerns of side effects. But the first that just came out is a drug called Lorcasen, known as Belvic, and it actually is a serotonin, works on serotonin reuptake. It improves serotonin, which some of the old drugs, flutamine and the like that came out and was known to cause heart defects, valve defects. This one is more specific. It's to a satiety receptor on the serotonin receptors. It's a satiety receptor, and it actually does that, and it improves satiety, hopefully without the heart effects. The other one is actually a combination drug of 2 drugs that's been around for a long time. Phentermine, been around since the 50s, and topiramate is a drug that's been used for epilepsy and for headaches and tremor. And they now made this a combination. The drug's name is going to be Quanexa, and it's also an extended version that's coming out. We do not know the dosing. So those are the 2 new drugs. Both these drugs do different things that adjust metabolism and then also work on satiety. Everything, the holy grail is satiety.
Of course, if they're never full, they're going to keep eating.
Eating, yes, we have an epidemic.
Yes, and with ever-present food, it's a huge problem. What about side effects with these new medications? I always worry about those.
I'm so glad you asked that. This is what has really caused problems in the field of anti-obesity drugs. We put them out, we feel good, like the Meridia that had come out and was a few years ago. We took out another serotonin booster, and the Fen-Phen, which phentermine is the one that still stayed there, but now flutamine we had to take off. Yes, the side effects are great, and that's why the FDA has delayed its approval. We don't know. We know Belvic causes headaches and some of the dizziness and things like that, dry mouth. And for diabetics, a risk, it may decrease blood pressure or blood sugars. But we have to do some post-use studies to see the risk of heart valve issues with which they're concerned. The other one, though, is more risky.
Okay.
The other one, the Onexa that's coming out, it is known to cause problems with birth defects. You have to be very, very careful when these drugs are given because of cleft palate. It also is known to increase heart rate. Phentermine does at rest. You have to be careful. And the problem with topiramate and why there was such pushback from
That's
the FDA.
anticonvulsant.
Yes. A lot of these drugs, by the way, cause depression, and that's why many of these drugs have not been able to be used, is that there has been with topiramate in certain patients suicidal ideation. So we'll see. We'll see. They're coming out now, and we'll look. And
people are already bummed out if they're overweight.
There you go. We want them to lose weight and feel good about it.
Exactly. Thank you, Chris. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
so much. Thanks. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. You're great.
Thanks, Chris.